Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Bihari
Janabalaba
Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari
Ranjana
Jana Ranjana
Ramanachari Ayara Madhava Kunjabi Hari Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 1, text 23. So I don't know if you have people chanted or, okay, so you have it there. Okay. Bruhi Yogeshwar, you just moved it. Bruhi Yogeshware Krishna,
Bruhi Yogeshware Krishne
Brahmanye Dharma Varmani,
Dharmani Dhamani
Varmani, Swam Kastam Adunopete,
Swam Kastam Aduno Pete
Dharmakam Sharanam Gata,
Dharmakam Saranam Gata
Bruhi Yogeshware Krishna,
Bruhi Yogeshware Krishne
Brahmanye Dharma Varmane,
Brahmanye Dharma Bharmani
Swam Kastam Adunopete,
Swam Kastam Aduno Pete
Dharmakam Sharanam Gata,
Dharmakam Saranam Gata
Yuhi Yogeshware Krishna
Bruhi Yogeshware Krishna,
Brahmane Dharma Varmani
Brahmane Dharma Varmani,
Swam Kastam Adunopete
Samkastam Adunopete,
Dharmam Kam Sharanam Gataha.
Dharma Kam Saranam Gataha. Anyone else?
Bruhi Yogeshware Krishne
Yogeshware Krishna,
Brahmanye Dharma Varmani
Brahmanye Dharma Varmani,
Swam Kashta Madhunopete
Samkastam Adunopete,
Dharmakam Sharanam Gataha.
Dharmam Kam Saranam Gataha.
Bruhi Yogeshware Krishne
Uhi Yogeshware Krishna,
Brahmanye Dharma Bharmani
Brahmanye Dharma Varmani,
swam kastam adhupnote
Ankastam adunopete
dharmahakam saranam gatah.
dharmakam sharanam gataha.
ब्रूहि योगेश्वरे कृष्णे
Bhuhi Yogeshware Krishna
ब्राह्मण्ये धर्मवर्मणि
Brahmanye Dharma Varmani
स्वं कष्टम् अधुप्नोते
Sankastam adunopete
धर्माकं शरणं गतः
dharmakam sharanam gataha. Bruhi,
Bruhi,
please tell.
Please tell.
Yoga Ishware,
Yogeshware,
the Lord of all mystic powers.
the Lord of all mystic power.
Krishna,
Krishna,
Lord Krishna.
Lord Krishna,
Brahmanye,
Ramani,
the absolute truth.
the absolute truth.
Dharma,
Dharma,
religion.
religion.
Varmani,
Varmani,
protector.
protector.
Svam,
Am,
Om,
Om,
Tarastam,
Kastam,
abode.
abode.
Aduna,
Puna,
nowadays.
nowadays.
Upete,
Upete,
having gone away.
having gone away.
Dharma,
Dharma,
religion.
religion.
Come,
Come,
unto whom?
unto whom?
Sharanam,
Saranam,
shelter.
shelter.
Gataha,
Aha,
gone.
gone.
Translation. Since Sri Krishna, the absolute truth, the master of all mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, please tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Essentially, religion is the prescribed codes enunciated by the personality of Godhead himself. Whenever there is gross misuse or neglect of the principles of religion, the Supreme Lord appears himself to restore religious principles. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Here the sages of Naimisharanya are inquiring about these principles. The reply to this question is given later. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental sound representation of the personality of Godhead, and thus it is the full representation of transcendental knowledge and religious principles. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Questions by the Sages. So, read the verse again. Since Sri Krishna, the absolute truth, the master of all mystic powers, Shiva, your phone keeps ringing here. Can you get it out of here? The master of all mystic powers has departed for his own abode. Please tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter. And I'll go over the purport again. Essentially, religion is the prescribed codes enunciated by the personality of God himself. There's in the Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.19, it says, Dharmam tu shakshad bhagavat pranitam, that the path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. So you can't come up with your own idea of religion. People do, and it's some bogus religions. They're bona fide religions. These are paths enunciated by the Lord, or they're representatives who are teaching the paths enunciated by the Lord. But to just come up with, let's make a religion, let's worship, like in the Bible, they worship, it says you shouldn't worship idols. So and now people, okay, so in the Bible, they created some, I don't know, a calf or what they created, but they worshiped it, and God did some destroyed them. I don't know the whole thing because I don't know really the Bible too well, but I don't know it well at all. But the point is, you can't make up idols. And even the Christians, they think that we worship idols. This is idol worship. And if you worship idols, you're going to go to hell. They have no idea what an idol is and what a deity is. Uh, an idol is a concocted idea. A deity is a bona fide uh, representative of the Supreme Lord, or bona fide expansion of the Lord. Archa Vigraha is an expansion of the Lord. You can invite the Lord to come into this form, but the form has to be a bona fide form of the Lord, not just some concoction. And then when he comes, then you can serve him nicely. You can feed him, you can dress him, you can bathe him, you can talk to him, you can chant to him. You can have a relationship with this deity form. So it's a bona fide form of the Lord. It's not a concoction. But because Christians have no idea, they see anything like that and they think it's an idol, and it says in the Bible you shouldn't worship idols. And we agree that you shouldn't worship idols, but it's an authorized form. It's just like Prabhupada gave an example of a mailbox. You put your letter in the mailbox and it goes to the post office, and then it gets delivered to the person you're sending it to. So if you just go out and make a mailbox and put it outside and people put letters in, it's not going to get to the people that they're sending it to, unless you actually go and take the letters yourself. But the post office isn't going to pick it up. They're not going to deliver it. So it's not authorized. So there's a difference between authorized and not authorized. So the form of the Lord, according to Shastra, is authorized to worship, but you can't concoct. So people today concoct their own religions, their own idol worship, you might say, and you can't do that. It's not bona fide. It doesn't get you anywhere. It may get you money, it may get you followers, but it's not going to get you or your followers anything good. I asked Srila Prabhupada once about, because there's some bogus yogis, bogus cheaters, and then their followers seem very sincere. They're really surrendering. They're doing what they can. And we asked Srila Prabhupada about, and I say we, I don't mean me, but devotees, what happens to these followers, this bogus person's followers? And he said he will go to hell and his followers will go with him. So who you're following really makes a big difference as far as where you're going to go. So you certainly want to follow somebody who's a bona fide representative of Krishna, or of God. So, and they don't concoct. So this path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord, and that's the only bona fide path of religion, not something that you just concoct yourself. So whenever there is gross misuse or neglect of the principles of religion, the Supreme Lord appears himself to restore religious principles. So 5,000 years ago, or 5,000 years ago in a few years, Krishna had appeared to reestablish the principles of religion. He come yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata yutanama dharmasya tadatmanam shujamyaham. Whenever there's a decline in religious principles, Krishna comes and invents himself. So he comes in regular times, and whenever and wherever there's decline in religious practice and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I invent myself. So he does come, and he comes in different ways. Like right now in society, religion is really not doing very well. Uh, there are so many cheaters. Even if someone wants to surrender, there are so many cheaters, and people are just becoming very irreligious. There's so many, previously people were heterosexual, and now there's I think like 30 different classifications of different types of sexual behavior that that have a name, they have a name for, that you can be this, you can be that. Uh, it's uh, it's really gone very much downhill. People are very irreligious. They're not thinking of God. They're thinking of their themselves as their body and what's pleasing to their body and to their senses, not what's pleasing to God and what's pleasing to God's senses. So there's gross misuse or neglect of the principles of religion. Supreme Lord appears. So he's come now actually in the form of his holy name. Prabhupada explains that Krishna either comes himself or he sends his representative. And when he sends his representative, the representative should be treated the same as if Krishna. Prabhupada gave the example of like a diplomat representing our country, representing the United States, goes to another foreign country. They treat, or they're supposed to treat, that diplomat as they would the president or the who is elected, or the king is supposed to treat them the same because he's representing. So the spiritual master gets treated as God, although he's not God. Just like you treat the representative of a country as the leader of the country, even though he's not the leader of the country. So this is just proper etiquette. And no one should be in any illusion that the representative is the president, or the representative of God is God. He's just a representative. So the path of religion can be reestablished by the Lord himself, or sometimes by his representative. So this is stated in Bhagavad Gita, which I read, Yada Yadahi. I didn't read, I actually remember. So here the sages of Naimisharanya are inquiring about these principles. Krishna now left. What do? We had the same thing, not the same thing, but very similar thing. When Srila Prabhupada left, what do? And devotees did their best. It says when the Acharya leaves, lots of times there's so many problems, so many difficulties, but then they eventually iron out. But in the beginning, it's difficult. Like in the beginning, Prabhupada had appointed 11 people to initiate on his behalf while he was present. And then those, to me, we need to have gurus. So who's going to be a guru? Should all of Prabhupada's disciples be gurus? Some of them are crazy. Literally certified insane. So should they also be gurus? There has to be, because we have an organization, there has to be some standards in who becomes a guru and who doesn't become a guru. There was no question about it. Everyone knew we had to have gurus representing Srila Prabhupada. So as an organization, we figure out how to pick these gurus. Who should we pick to be gurus? What standard? So it's a little bit better than normally when the guru leaves and everyone becomes, and all the disciples can become gurus. At least we have some checks and balances. They may not be perfect, and they are not perfect, but at least there's some checks and balances. You got a better chance of getting a bona fide guru rather than just all of the disciples becoming gurus. So logically, the 11 were chosen by Prabhupada to initiate on his behalf. Let's start with those 11 initiating on his behalf and becoming their disciples. So that's what we started, and no one had a problem with that until some of those disciples had fallen away. And then it became a problem. And then they, of course, they figured out how they can pick new people. They have to be authorized within their zone or their area, their temple. Anyway, it's a whole thing. But there has to be representatives of Krishna. There has to be this disciplic succession. So here, the sages in Naimisharanya are inquiring about these principles because Krishna left. So similarly, when Prabhupada left, we were inquiring how this is going to go on. We knew Prabhupada said, there's the disciplic succession and it continues. It's like when Bhakti Siddhanta left, it continued. But it fragmented. It didn't stay so much as one organization anymore. So we wanted to, and Prabhupada specifically established the GBC as the ultimate governing body. And he said that his Guru Maharaj also told them that, but they didn't do it. So we did that. We're trying to do what Prabhupada wanted. And things are going on, even though at one point there was a lot of problems, but things were still going on. And there's always going to be problems. It's the material world. Material world is full of perplexities, and therefore it behooves one to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Prabhupada says this in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But so this is the material world. We have to have a representative, and we have to continue on with this Krishna consciousness movement. And here, these sages are trying to figure out how they can continue this same process, how this can go on now that Krishna left. I mean, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's gone. What happens now? So that's why they were performing 1,000 years sacrifice in this holy place of Naimisharanya to try to counteract the influence of Kali Yuga. And we know now to counteract the influence of Kali Yuga, we chant Hare Krishna. The more people we can get chanting Hare Krishna, the more the influence of Kali Yuga will be deflected. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental sound representation of the personality of Godhead, and thus it is the full representation of transcendental knowledge and religious principles. So the Bhagavatam is also what we have to take the place of Krishna. So it's a spotless Purana. It's pure. There was another verse.
Krishna is Sudharma.
Oh, Krishna Swadharma Pagate Dharma Gyana Kanadabi Saha Kalona Stadrishamesha Purana Kodunoditaha. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. So this is the light, and this Kali Yuga is very dark, and this light is this Bhagavad Purana. So by regularly hearing, those who regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam will perfect their lives and go back home, go back to Godhead. So we have a little over 6 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions? I think that you're ending at 8 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yes, Prabhu, that's correct. Yes.
So anyone have any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, our Guru Srila Prabhupada. This is Srinivas Acharya Das.
Oh,
So Prabhu, Dharma is coming from the scripture, but we see in the modern times, the ethics keep changing. What is ethical now was unimaginable, say, a century ago. So, and those ever-changing ethics, they kind of creep into religious systems, and they also tend to accept these things, that, like the example that you have given about the sexual orientation. So how, as a society, how can we protect ourselves from being influenced by these ever-changing so-called ethics in the social world?
Well, I think certain things we have to change. Not like in Kali Yuga, there's time, place, and circumstances. So Prabhupada has also made some changes. But of course, none of the main principles have changed. But we may have to do things a little differently. I'm seeing today, even more than when Prabhupada was here, the women are, have to be recognized more. So they seem to be making adjustments in ISKCON to do that. Maybe not as fast as some women would like. So to me, that's something they're making, it seems different, but they're doing it. Now, I'm not positive if it's even right. I don't know what the right thing is, but I follow the authorities of the GBC. And if they decide this, they're smarter than I am. So I just agree with it. So that's one thing. I don't know what else there is. We don't say any of these things are these sexual deviancies are okay. Nobody's ever gone that far in ISKCON.
I did see some paper. I'm sure you must have too.
I may not have seen it. But what is it?
There was one, I think, paper written by Hridayananda Goswami on that some time ago, and it seems to be picking up.
Well, it's not really authorized like gay marriages, which
Yeah,
are legal in the country, but in ISKCON, it's not really authorized. But if some gay person gets married, it's not like they can't be devotees. They can still be
true.
devotees because
Yeah,
they're observing. They have a problem. They're just like most of us are just naturally attracted to women. Most men are, but some men are naturally attracted to men. It's like it's not something they choose. So best if they can avoid doing that, either be celibate or get married. Not to marry a woman. But what can you do? So if they do this, and it's okay for them to get married. I mean, I don't, Hridayananda Swami, one thing he did say is better they just have one partner than they have many partners. So it's like the lesser of two evils, you might say.
but can we call it marriage? Is that in the Shastra? I mean, the word marriage is totally different, no?
It's not authorized in the Shastra to have a marriage like that. But what?
It's not holy matrimony.
Jiva says it's not holy matrimony.
Yes, the usage of the word kind of seems to change the dharma. Then once it becomes a dharma, then
I'm not sure the word. I mean, in one sense, it's just a word, but we know what it means. You have a partner, and I mean, generally, marriages, you have to raise a family. It's really difficult to do. I don't think it's. I don't think in ISKCON, for instance, one who has such a relationship would get initiated. Because that's really against, there's certain principles you have to follow in order to get initiated. And you can't be doing those things if you want to get initiated. But you could still be a devotee and still do devotional service and make spiritual progress. but you won't be able to get initiated in ISKCON. I don't know anybody that's initiating, same-sex marriage people in ISKCON. Out of ISKCON, people are.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. That's wonderful the way you explained.
Yeah, I don't know much, but I do see that there are many of them, not that I see many of them, but the ones that I see that are devotees, they're really nice devotees. They're good devotees. And we shouldn't like excommunicate them. They're doing service. We should accept them as devotees. But they have a problem, just like some other devotee, maybe a nice devotee, but they can't stop taking some intoxication. But then, they get high this way or that way, or they have illicit sex, but they're still devotees. So we don't, they have to stop that before they get initiated. So it's the same thing. At least before they get initiated within ISKCON. Any other questions? It's 8 o'clock, so I don't know if we're going to get kicked off or not.
Thank you, Pyari Prabhu. I think there is no more questions.
Okay.
So just a quick thing, right? We have started the Srimad Bhagavatam daily 30 minutes. And Saturday, Sunday, we'll be having the regular Srimad Bhagavatam, that's 8 o'clock. That will be 1 hour. Again, we are extending Sunday also for 8 to 9. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Giving me this opportunity to say something.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. It was very nice, always, your presence will be always motivational to me. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very much.
Thank you.
Hare
Krishna.